welcome to my show. This is the fourth episode. And for those who, if this is your first time joining me, my name is Dr. Umar. I'm a pediatric cardiologist and I do a weekly show about my week. And it's been an interesting week. I want to start off with some really good news. And then I want to talk about Twitter and physician assistants, PAs. And I want to talk about also about how we as doctors are really good at making good friends and making friends in general. So start off with the good news. I've passed my exam. So if you know from my first show, I talked about how, why do we put ourselves through exams, especially at, I'm 40 now, I'm still sitting exams to get accreditations, but actually I've passed and I'm really happy and I want to share that with you. But again, despite being 40, I'm still getting, I still get stressed out when the results come out. I'm not like, oh, okay, fine, I've opened many emails and envelopes with results and it never gets easier. So I was sat in the car, I was doing the pickup for my kids, and someone texts me and say, look, the results are out, check your email. And I couldn't bring myself to do it. And I said, no, I'll wait until I get home, because if I open it and I failed, I'll just be crying outside the gates. And that really isn't a good look for anyone. So I said, okay, well, I'll get home. I got home. Then I wanted to wait for my wife, and typical, she just took forever getting home. And when she did, I said, open the email. And then I don't know why, but I had this sudden urge to run away into my fight or flight, just completely, I went with flight and I ran upstairs, but then I heard nothing. So I came crawling down the steps thinking, have I failed? Are you not wanting to say that? Or why haven't you cheered for me and said, I've passed? Anyway, I realized you got to choose who opens your emails very carefully, because she's still trying to figure out what the result actually was and what it meant. Thankfully, right at the last minute, no, you've passed, well done, great. So, bit anticlimactic, but I've passed. I'm very happy. It's a big relief. It's a lot of weight off my shoulders, and now actually I can get on with my life. I just thought I'd share that with you. Now, let's talk about PAs, physician assistants, physician associates, whatever you want to call them, we'll call them PAs. Twitter, very interesting place. Like all platforms of social media, it can be very good and it can be really bad. And what I've learned using Twitter or X is there are some angry people out there, but when it comes to PAs, I've come to sort of realize that actually people may have a point. So if you don't know what PAs are, or you've heard of them but you're not quite sure, let me just explain to you what they are, what they're supposed to do, and how they sort of ended up in the UK. So physician assistants, associates are exactly what the name sort of describes them to be. They're individuals who help doctors with their job. Now that could be admin, that could be minor procedures, it could be anything that sort of allows doctors to be more doctors. And it all came from America. So the PAs are very big in America, and they're very much part of the system for a long time. I'm not quite how long they've been part of the American system, but they've been part of the system a long time. So what I remember as when I first qualified is that consultants of my department had gone to a conference in America and had seen this idea, and I think they sort of were selling it that the UK should adopt this. And what's been going on is that universities have been running courses for physician assistants to be part of our NHS workforce, and I've had an opportunity to teach them, and I think they come from all different backgrounds. So to get on a PA course, you don't have to have a science background. You don't have to have a medical background. You can come from a background of law, geography. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're enthusiastic and you want to be part of this team. So when I was asked as being an educational fellow at a hospital I was working at, I was asked to teach them, and they have to sort of know the curriculum sort of aligns very much like a medical degree, and they wanted me to teach them like the medical students. And I said, yeah, but you're not going to be working in that role, and nor you are expected to be that. So I don't see how I should teach you the same way. But I taught them nonetheless, and I was very interested to come across how they see things. Now, some of them come with the idea as I am a doctor, or I'm pretty much like a doctor. Others are very okay with their role. No, I'm not a doctor. I'm a PA, and my job is to help doctors, but I like helping people, and I want to be part of the NHS, and I think it's a good cause. And I think that's the sort of way they should be. And certainly, during my cardiology training, I've worked with PAs, on my team. And the PAs I've worked with, they've all been fantastic. They've been really good members of the team. They work really hard. They all work within their scope of their job role. So they don't seem to come out or go beyond. They don't consider themselves to be doctors. They work really hard. They're safe. They do what's expected of them, and they double check everything. And I've never really had a problem with them, despite the initial issue I had when I first met students from the course, and I sort of then became aware that there is a type of personality within this workforce that exists. I've met some really good people that I'm good friends with, and I think they do a good service to us. However, what Twitter then exposes, or I guess highlights or amplifies, I'm not quite sure, that there is another side to the PAs, and these individuals are people who act like they are doctors, and there are surgical PAs who are talking either through social media, or they've posted something or done a video where they've talked about how they're learning so much and they can do minor procedures, and they're in theatres all day and night, and they're helping the surgeon. And yet you've got surgical registrars, surgical SHOs aspiring to be surgeons at the end of their career, who can't even get into theatre because they're busy doing prescriptions. They're busy doing, I guess, well, not prescription because that is the doctor's job, but they're doing discharge letters. That was what the post was saying. I'm doing discharge letters. I'm having to make phone calls. I'm having to go and arrange things. While I could actually be in theatre doing stuff that's beneficial for my training, and then I would be a better, surgeon, which makes sense. But they're not there. But who is? The PA. Now, I get the consultants want to nurture, because especially surgery is a very apprenticeship type model. You groom someone into being a surgeon, you spend a lot of time with them, you teach them skills, you refine their skills, and you help them along that journey. You're coaching them, you're mentoring them. And if you've got an SHO reg who's rotating every 4 or 6 months, and you have a choice, well, I could teach this person, but I'll always get a new person every 4 to 6 months. Or what I can do is I can, have this one person and really teach them, and they're not going to leave me, and they're going to be with me for a good couple of years. And actually, I, as a consultant, will get more out of them. And so I see that point. I don't agree with it. I think there's a problem in the training pathway then. But I see their point. But this is where the frustration now exists with the surgical trainees that's saying, well, why aren't I being able? Why are the anaesthetic trainees not able to? Why is it that a PA has now come, taken my training away, a training generally that has been hugely diluted over the years. And if you actually look at the way doctors are trained, it's massively changed. Yes, we've got the European Work Directive, and that sort of has changed the way we work, but generally, training, I don't think it's as good as it was. And I'm an advocate of going back to a more traditional way of working as a doctor, but I think that's a conversation for another time. Ultimately, physician assistants and the way they are now being used in the NHS does highlight there are problems in the training program, and also it's created a massive frustration. And if you read these comments and these posts, you can see there's a lot of doctors on all different levels across all different specialties that are very upset. And why has this been allowed to happen? I think the general feel is that it's cheap workforce. We have a lack of doctors, so we can't address that. We're not addressing that properly. So what we can do is we can just recruit someone or a cohort of people, train them in half the time, and get them to fill in the gaps. And you are literally filling gaps here. You are not, and you're learning on the job. This is not, I don't think it's the right way, and it's not, and it doesn't solve a problem. You're bandaging, you're putting a band-aid over a problem. Eventually that's going to peel off and you're going to be back in a sticky situation. So I can see the frustration. I don't. And the other thing, actually, other thing I want to say is that there are PAs on social media that are saying things like, "I work just like a doctor." Yeah, there was a show, I don't know, it was Channel 4, Channel 5, where there was a PA managing a patient in A&E in resus on their own. I mean, that really set a lot of things up, and people were really angry about that. And the comments, even this person's making, I'm just like a doctor. You're not. And that really annoyed me. You're not a doctor. You're not like a doctor. You're not a doctor. Okay, you're a PA. And this is where now this sort of merging and sort of why the PA becomes problematic, because people, the public are none the wiser. You stick a stethoscope and someone's wearing scrubs, you just assume they're a doctor. And with the other issue, when people were on Twitter and social media, and they were sort of throwing screenshots of people, and then people putting evidence. This wasn't just people's stories. Yes, there's a lot of stories, but there were people throwing screenshots of PAs that were saying that they work like doctors, PAs talking about how wonderful their training was, whereas the doctors actually weren't. PAs being paid far more than junior doctors, so that not only they're getting better training, they're getting paid better. And then this idea, but I don't get career progression. Well, that doesn't mean you should get paid more to do the exact same job as your F2 counterpart, but the F2 will progress and therefore end up earning more money in the long term. That's not the point. That doesn't make any sense. If you're doing a certain role, you get paid for your role. So if the F2 is doing a certain number of roles, you're getting paid for that level, then those roles in seniority will change. Then the pay reflects that. You can't just say, well, I'm just going to pay the PA a lot more. But the PA is doing stuff that probably shouldn't be doing. And it's a really complicated topic. And don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm going to be able to sort of solve the whole thing or give a just argument on either side. But I want to highlight it because it's something that has been in conversation, in the last week or so, a couple of weeks. I've seen it on Twitter. I've been following it. I think there's a lot of frustration with doctors that I work with in the hospital, across different hospitals, friends that I have, and they're all it has become a very hot topic. And I thought I'd use this opportunity to highlight that, because I think we are going down a road in the NHS where we're just trying to put things out, try to sort of fix things with temporary fixes. And actually, I don't think it's solving a problem. I think you need more doctors. And I think you need to, look at the training program, both in medical school and, you know, once you qualify, rather than just saying, look, we've got a problem, we've got a lot going on, the NHS is in, you know, massive work burden, we're just going to find a quick fix, find someone that can just slip in and get paid a little bit less. That's not a way of fixing a problem. That's just sweeping under the carpet, and we all know that will come back to haunt you. So I think, you know, also with physician assistants generally, like, you can't paint them all. I know I've said some good things and I've said some bad things, and I think that's the point I would really like to make. You can't paint all PAs with the same brush. Now, some of them are clearly have an ego and clearly are trying to portray themselves as something they're not. And then you've got others who are very respectful and very good at their job and very aware of their role and work within their role. And I think that works really well. I mean, I'll give you a personal experience. I had a GP telephone appointment some months back, and I didn't even realize the person I was speaking to was a PA. And I questioned a lot of things that they were saying to me on the phone. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, oh, no. And I actually had to bring it up with a follow-up appointment with the GP, who I knew. And I said, look, I'm not being funny, but I wasn't really happy with what I was being told. And they looked up who it was that I saw, and they said, oh, it was a PA. And you see this everywhere, you know, to solve the GP crisis, we'll get a PA to see you to manage this and manage your, you know, abdominal pain, or, you know, no. What you need to do is get people that are trained far more thoroughly to do this stuff. And I think we're going down a road with PAs that are actually going to be problematic. And training is very important. As someone who has done a lot of work in medical education, I am a sole believer. A lot of my channel is dedicated on medical educational related things. I believe in good training, and I think PAs do have a place within the NHS. I don't think we should just get rid of them, but I think we need to think about regulating them, because what I also found out was, you know, if I'm countersigning their prescriptions, or, you know, I'm the senior on the ward, I'm responsible for them. I didn't employ them. You know, it's the consultant's responsibility. It's not my responsibility, but apparently, you know, I have to take responsibility for them. I didn't sign up for that. You know, that wasn't part of my. I don't think that's part of my contract. I don't think so. But again, how many of us really go for our hospital contracts with a fine cone? So I think we really need to look at that. We need to sort of advocate for, you know, a proper, you know, regulation of PAs to make sure these things are done properly. So again, keep them. They are good individuals, you know. Well, some of them are, and so. But I think the way they've been sort of brought in, rushed, maybe not thought out. I don't know. Were we warned? You know, do we know? You know what they should and shouldn't be doing? I think everyone else's role, nurses, physios, OTs, we all know what they do. We know where they sit, what PAs. I think there's a lot of grey and a lot of confusion. So again, I think a lot of that needs to be sorted out. And should my fees be used to regulate them? No, I think they need to pay their own fees and they need to be regulated by their own board. That is for sure. That is something that has really caught, again, a lot of attention on Twitter. So it's a mixed thing. I think it's something that we need to become more aware of. And like I said, I don't hate them, but I see the arguments on both sides. I do see where people that are anti-PAs come from. If it's eating into their training, if they're getting opportunities that the doctor should be getting, I get it. Totally get it. I don't see a problem with that. I think the issue comes more from a political standpoint. Like, why has this been allowed to happen? What is the hidden agenda? Is there a hidden agenda? And I definitely do have an issue with PAs who present themselves as doctors or just like a doctor. I think that's crossing the line. But anyway, I thought that would be interesting to talk about this week. And so moving on to a more friendlier topic. I want to say how important it is to have good friends at work. Wherever I've worked, you know, we've all done it. Wherever you rotate, you end up becoming friends with, you become friends with everyone, you become friendly with everyone, but you always find one good friend. And I've got a really good friend at work. And when her and her husband go away on holiday and she travels the world, she always brings me back something. And we went to the America. I don't know if I've mentioned this in one of my podcasts before, but when I went to America, we went as a team. And so I think she knew I've always wanted to travel, but unfortunately, due to sort of kids and schooling, stuff like that, I don't have as many opportunities to travel. But I feel maybe she feels sorry for me. But she always brings me back something. And you know what? I'm really excited because she brought me back. She went to Dubai. She brought me back dates. And I love dates. Beautiful dates. But she brought me back date syrup. And if you've not had date syrup, I didn't even know date syrup existed. If you've not had it, I would seek out date syrup. It is amazing. Absolutely, I've had it on my Weetabix, my ice cream. I've had it on a spoon. It's amazing. So I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to my friend for that, because I think that's really changed my world. But it's sort of what the wider thing I want to talk about is I realized that it's important to have good friends at work, because medicine is very stressful, isn't it? You go through some really difficult times, whether it's office politics, or whether it's sort of difficult cases, difficult situations, difficult on calls. Just having a friend that you can sort of vent out to is really important. And I think it's really important for sort of mental health at work, is having that comrade who you can trust. And I think, I'm sure everyone has one. And it made me realize just how important it is to have. And these people become your friends for life, don't they? And I'm sure, in each job I've gone around, I've always met someone that I've, really clicked with and has always been a very good friend. And, it's been really nice. But it also made me realize another thing. We as doctors are amazing at making friends. I think if next time I get asked in an interview, what is your superpower, or what is your talent, or what skill are you proud of, I'm going to say making friends. Because people say, they find making friends very difficult, they find talking to people very difficult. But doctors, they turn up to a new rotation, they know they're only going to be there for 4 months or 6 months, sometimes a year, but yet they're very quickly getting tuned with everyone. And we get a social going, you go out for drinks, or you go out for dinner, or you have a group lunch. And you know what? We're in it together, and we run a tight ship, and we got each other's back. And I just realized, we are very good at making friends. And then we leave, and we go off to the next rotation 4 months later. And guess what? We do it all over again. And we're just constantly making and breaking friendships. And there's a lot of people I've met on the way, and I had to think about this when I wrote this. I was sketching out what do I talk about this week. I was like, there's so many people actually I was really good friends with, or really friendly with. I haven't spoken to them in like 10 years, 15 years. But, when I started a job, I became really good friends really quickly. And I think that's one of the things about Facebook, really good at. You keep in touch with people. Even though you move on to the other side of the country, or you leave the country, but yet you still stay in touch. And again, that also made me realize something else. It is really sad, that we as doctors, we move so much, and it's so disruptive to life. I don't know if there's any other profession that does it quite like medicine, that we could be on one side of the country and then the other side of the country, or we can leave and go across seas and then come back, and we just focus on the contract that we're on, and we just do our rotations. And it just, I don't really want to dwell on that. I think that's really depressing. But making friendships is really a skill. I think doctors are amazing at making it. I think it's because, I guess when you meet people, you're about to be in bad situations, you're going to be in busy situations, and actually what you need is a good friend. And then the quicker you become friends, you find. And I really have seen the office politics that you see in non-medical jobs. I think that we don't have that issue. We don't have, the cattiness or the gossiping over the water fountain. I mean, to be fair, doctors don't even drink water half the time. And we've got studies to show that we just don't have time to drink. So why would we have a water fountain? But doctors are really good, and I think we should highlight our strengths. I think that is a strength. I feel like I make friends very quick. Clearly, I've made a very good friend in the person who's bought me date syrup. And so and I'm seriously, I'm well over the moon over my date syrup. I think when I run out, I'm going to be really sad. But I've been promised that I will get another batch. But I need to go and seek this out. So yeah, I think making friends is an exceptional skill, and we're very good at it. And I'm really proud. I'm giving myself a tap on the back for that. For making good friends. So now let me finish off by going with a more real life problem. And I am someone, I'm always glued with my headphones wherever I go. I have my headphones, and I forgot to charge them this week, and they died. It's very sad, and I'll tell you why I make a point of this. Could you just think, I make a point of this because then I have to take the tube to work, and I'm on the tube. Now my music's not blaring. I don't lose myself, in my thought or in one of my Blinkist books. But I could hear other people's conversations. And you know what? It's really weird. It's like you have all these conversations going around you right in front of you, especially in a tube. You're just clamped, against each other. And you don't really want to listen to other people's conversation, but you get trapped and you end up having to listen to it. And I think, isn't that really intrusive that the people around you are listening to you? And do people having these conversations not realize that everyone in this carriage can hear me, but yet they'll still have this conversation? And it's not like I'm sort of homing into the conversation like Superman, trying to hear out for danger, literally hearing this stuff. And then you think, I feel really rude. What do? Do I stand there with my hands on my ears, or I don't really want to hear it? And then what is I had someone, I won't repeat what they said, but it was something really funny. I'd hold myself from laughing because I feel like, oh my god, if I laugh, they're gonna know I'm listening, and I don't want to listen. I don't want to be part of this conversation. But it's true though, isn't it? I don't realize also how much rubbish some people can talk and how trivial some of their problems actually are. But it was, I don't know, I found it really hilarious. I just found it hilarious. My battery died. I learnt, to carry a wire with me so that I can charge it wherever I am. But I found that really funny. Quite funny how the pigeon was chasing that young lady down the carriage, who thought she was going to be attacked by the pigeon, trapped inside the carriageway. Equally, I think, again, on the train, if your battery dies and you can't fall asleep, what do? Is it rude? Is it not rude? How are you supposed to behave? I don't know. Maybe I'm very good at making friends, but I have a rubbish poker face. Maybe I need to work on that. I don't know. Anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed listening to my week. It's been a nice week. Good news. Unfortunately, some controversial stuff with the PAs, but I'm sure something will come out of it, and something good will happen, and that will be great. I wish you a great week ahead, and I hope you've liked listening. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't shared this, do share. And I will see you next week. Take care.